A very warm welcome to you. Thanks for joining us. This is the News on 90 International and we're live from Abuja. I am Ruth Aguele. Let's bring you the headlines. Presidency debunks social media reports on purported President Buhari's vacation. Urges Nigerians to be careful of what they consume as news. Nigeria government and African Development Bank to establish agro-processing zones. Plus, federal government to sanction tertiary institutions that fail to use central admission processing system for admission processes. And now details. The special advisor to the president on media and publicity, Femi Adesina, has described as baseless, unfounded and mischievous reports in the social media indicating that President Muhammadu Buhari is billed to proceed on 20 days vacation to the United Kingdom, Saudi Arabia and Austria. Reacting to the report, the presidential spokesperson maintained that the purveyors of fake and concocted information are currently on overdrive, urging Nigerians to be careful about what they consume.
We have got many calls, many inquiries, whether this was true or not. But of course, there is no truth to it at all. It's just the handiwork of mischievous people who want to cause disaffection, dissatisfaction in the country. We know that Nigeria has been passing through challenging times in the past couple of weeks, particularly due to security challenges. Now they have added disinformation to it. Transportation Minister was said to have been attacked at Rigasa in Kaduna. He has denied it. The Air Force was alleged to have killed 250 insurgents. They have denied it. Zara, the daughter of the president, was said to have got a job through the back door as a deputy manager at the Petroleum Products Pricing Regulatory Agency. There is no truth to it. Merchants of falsehood are on the prowl and they don't mean our country any good. People who are designing should please note that they are out for disaffection and be careful. Be careful what you accept, be careful the information you consume, and then the information you share.
Mr. Adesina said Nigerians must learn to be discriminatory about what they accept as credible information without authentication so as to collectively beat the malevolent minds at their pernicious games. Let's talk education. Tertiary institutions in Nigeria that involve in admitting candidates not through the central admission processing system will be sanctioned. Minister of Education Adamu Adamu stated this at the headquarters of the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, Abuja. Olayinka Ojo has all the details.
The introduction of the Central Admission Processing System (CAPS) into tertiary institutions' admission process has brought fairness, discipline and equity into the process of admission of students. But some tertiary institutions found wanting in the admission processes have been on hold until the right things are done. The Education Minister sees it as an act of corruption.
I therefore urge all institutions to pay and play according to the rules by conducting all the admission processes only through CAPS.
It is few hours to the closure of JAMB's 2020 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination Registration Portal, as there will be no extension of registration. And all is set for the commencement of the UTME mock examination, expected to take more than 300,000 candidates across the nation.
We are also automating our mock this year. There are even centers where there are no students physically will still be automated and used for the examination.
Centers across the country will be conducting the UTME mock examination. Olayinka Ojo, NTA News.
More news on education. Federal Capital Territory Minister Malam Mohammed Musa Bello says the administration is currently making efforts to review and domesticate the national teacher education policy to enhance teachers' welfare for better service delivery. The minister gave the assurance at the second combined convocation ceremony of FCT College of Education Zuba. Ifeanyi Zumba has details.
The FCT Minister Mohammed Bello represented by the Minister of State, FCT, Ramatu Tijani Aliu, assured the school management that the FCT administration will assist in making the relocation to the permanent site possible, adding that a lot of resources have been expended on the site through the intervention of TED Fund.
The provision of qualitative education through conducive learning environment, quality teachers, and availability of learning tools is a top priority of this government towards the development of education sector.
Earlier, the FCT Permanent Secretary Sachinyaka Christian Oha, who expressed concern over the backlog of graduates of the institution who had completed their NC programs from 2010 to date, called on the management to work hard at ensuring that convocation and other important activities of the college are not delayed.
Holding a convocation ceremony when and as due will save you time and energy and also enable your students to have a sense of fulfillment and accomplishment.
The provost of the college, Dr. Muhammad Gambo Hamza, while enumerating the achievements recorded by the institution, called on the FCT administration for the construction of access roads and completion of some buildings at the permanent site.
I wish to appeal to the BISTO for adequate funding for enable the college to expand its programs by introducing the technical component such as automobile, technology, building, electronics, metal and woodwork.
The graduating students were enjoined to be good ambassadors of the college by shunning all vices that are inimical to the society. In Abuja, Ifeanyi Izumba, NT News.
And on promoting agribusiness, the Governor, Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, has reiterated the need for sub-nationals in Nigeria to key into the agricultural revolution in the country by providing infrastructures and land for investors who want to establish production and processing facilities in states. The governor stated this when he visited the FCT Minister, Mohammed Musa Bello, for an engagement. Let's hear from Chimobi Walter in Nigeria.
And following the announcement by the Central Bank of Nigeria last year on its intention to ban the importation of milk and dairy products in the country and its desire to achieve the 550,000 metric tons target of the CBN on milk production between 6 to 12 months. Engagements like this is to reduce office time in process of land procurement by investors in their quest to establish processing factories for dairy products and its value chain.
Some of our meetings, they had said that even if they consume all the cassava starch or glucose or sorbitol that is produced in Nigeria, that it will not even be enough. For that reason, we have gone into a lot of backward integration with our smallholder farmers in our rural communities, even for the production and massive production of cassava in different parts of the country. Now, these companies have come because they would need the opportunity to be able to set up processing plants and their factories here in Abuja.
Agri development.
The Minister, Federal Capital Territory, Mohammed Musa Bello, while promising to provide the necessary assistance, noted the importance for the bank to float a price stability mechanism in order to ensure efficient production by farmers.
We will provide the needed land, but where we have competitive advantage, I think it's being able to give you facilities where you can process, simply because we are at the center of what you could call the transportation hub.
It is believed that the establishment of such factories will help in job creation and save the foreign exchange that would have been used in importation of dairy products into the country. In Abuja, I'm Chimobi Walter Naji, NT News.
Many thanks, Chimobi. And in a related development, federal government says it is committed towards ensuring that special agro-processing zones are established in the country as proposed by the African Development Bank. This is coming as the African Development Bank set aside $300 million for the project. Musa Baba Aliyu has the details.
It is an agricultural development project designed by the African Development Bank towards upscaling agricultural productivity in Nigeria. The project is to be jointly funded by the bank, federal government, and participating states. Agricultural clusters are to be established in Abuja, Benue, Kano and Ogun State under the program. The target crops are cereals, vegetables, cocoa, cotton, livestock including dairy and hides and skin. This forum is therefore organized for discussions on how the takeoff of the project will look like, as well as examine the commitment of the relevant stakeholders.
You need such collaboration between the agricultural sector and the industrial sector so that you can move the economy forward, you can create employment opportunities.
I would like to underline the invaluable support and contribution of the African Development Bank by setting aside the sum of $500 million for this initiative.
If plan is well executed, the construction of infrastructure for the special agro-processing zones will commence before August. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Let's talk business with Olayinka Ojo.
Welcome to Business News. The federal government has said it plans to appoint advisors for a 3.3 billion euro bond issued through an open competitive bid process and expects to complete an approval process for the sales soon. The Debt Management Office at the weekend stated that the new euro bond will be used to partly fund the government's 2020 budget deficit and refinancing an existing $500 million euro bond due in January next year. The Minister of State for Budget and National Planning, Clement Agba, has expressed hope for an improved economy in the new development plan. On the government short-term plan ERGP, which is coming to a close this year, he explained that its review is currently ongoing to ascertain its performance. He said the ministry has already started the development process, stating that the National Steering Committee for the new plan will be inaugurated in March this year. Let's now see how the equities market fared this Monday. And that stock market report concludes this segment of the news. I am Olayinka Ojo.
Thank you, Olayinka. In other news, as the National Assembly proposes another constitutional amendment process, guests on NTA's Good Morning Nigeria agree that the process is imperative for Nigeria to adequately address emerging realities. They, however, advocate a holistic review of all outstanding issues for amendment by the National Assembly to avoid what they call constitutional review ritual. Leader Samson will tell us more.
For many Nigerians, the 1979 and 1999 constitutions are not in tune with the emerging realities and are not products of the larger society. The guests say, for Nigeria to implement the law without any lacuna, all identified gaps in the nation's laws must be addressed with an updated constitution.
You will recall that in the 8th Assembly, we actually went through this exercise, and the intendment here is that issues that were not actually approved the last time. Perhaps new dynamics have emerged, new facts have emerged. People who were opposed to certain things must have seen differently now how things should be. And so we cannot deny Nigerians the opportunity for this exercise, because if we do that, it means we are becoming static.
To borrow the word of an eminent Nigerian jurist of blessed memory, Justice Udo Odoma, who said in one of his judgments that the Constitution is an organic document that is supposed to change with changing times, taking into account both the objective and subjective realities on ground. So the need for constitutional amendment, as rightly posted by the professor, is the need to take into consideration emerging realities of society that is not within the contemplation of the draftsmen or the lawmakers as at the time the Constitution was drafted.
They called for a definite, holistic and futuristic look at Constitution to capture the yearning and aspiration of different interest groups in the country.
Conservatively, a lot of people have put the issue of constitutional amendment to close to over 10 billion naira in the last few years, and whether we have value for money from that is something that we need to interrogate.
I think constitution making is a dynamic process because the society itself is very dynamic. You could say that America had a constitution which had been, I think they have amended it for about maximum of 15 times or so.
As the National Assembly seeks to consult the 2014 National Conference report as well as the 2016 Nasir El-Rufai-led committee report on restructuring, the guests urged the lawmakers to interrogate why some issues didn't fly in a bid to arrive at a consensus from Nigerians on the way forward. In Abuja, Lydia Samson, NTA News.
And talking security, the Nigerian Air Force says it has carried out another successful air raid on its ongoing air interdiction campaign dubbed Operation Rattlesnake 3 at Kirita Wulgo in Borno State. In a statement by NAF Director, Public Relations and Information, Air Commodore Ibikunle Daramola, the Air Task Force of Operation Lafia Dole destroyed an Islamic State of West African province training camp at Kirita Wulgo on the fringes of the Lake Chad in the northern part of Borno State on 16 February 2020. This followed credible intelligence reports and surveillance missions which established that some structures within the settlement were being used by the terrorists to house and train their fighters. Consequently, the Air Task Force dispatched an enhanced forced package of attack aircraft to engage the identified locations within the settlements. The fighter jets took turns to attack the target area in successive passes, taking out the training facilities. Let's pause for some messages. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
That channel where you watch just now don't waka, no panic.
Then say me no panic.
You go do it by yourself like ABC. Oh yeah, press the menu button on top your remote. Scroll up and down till you see Information Central. Then press OK.
Press OK.
Check the signal strength and quality. If the signal strength and quality pass 70, make you press the exit button, go back. Go advanced options, then choose installation, then go to reset and press OK.
Yeah, press OK.
Wow, now you sef fit catch all those channels wey be one miss road by yourself. Yes, make your group for no loss. You see as I do am, abi?
And I see as I do am.
Go TV, live it, love it.
And I see as we do am.
Thanks for staying tuned. The NTA has been informed of a fake Facebook account called NTA Nigeria News, operated by one Solomon Adeolu Adekunle, posting unpleasant items and views purportedly by the NTA. The general public is hereby alerted that this is not NTA-verified Facebook account and should be discountenanced by the numerous followers of the NTA on our social media platforms. NTA does not and has never operated with the name NTA Nigeria News. The public is enjoined to beware of these scammers who may be using the account to dupe the unsuspecting users. Facebook has been notified of the fake account, so please be cautious. National Chairman of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Adams Oshomole, has donated food items to internally displaced persons in Taraba State. Joseph Austin reports that 200 bags of rice were distributed to different camps across the state to reduce food crisis.
These are common scenes at internally displaced persons camps across Taraba State. Women, children and the elderly living without adequate food, water, sanitation and other basic needs of life. These victims of violent crisis are scattered in various camps in not less than 10 local government areas of the state and in dire need of humanitarian aids. Catering for them has been a great burden to host communities and government who have been supportive with relief materials. The plight of the displaced persons has reached the National Chairman of All Progressives Congress, APC, Adams Oshomole. He made personal donations of 200 bags of rice to reduce food crisis in the camps. State Chairman of APC, Ibrahim Tuku El Sudi, presented the items to various camp heads for distribution on his behalf.
I want to honestly
thank our national chairman for the goodwill of this offer, to particularly to all the northeastern states.
Da inda kuka bamu kuka ce mana kuma mu je mu yi adalci kamar inda kuka nuna mana adalci za mu yi ma mutane mu.
Communal crisis in different parts of Taraba State has forced thousands to abandon their homes and take refuge in IDP camps. In Jalingo, Joseph Sound Otsen, NTA News.
Let's get news on the foreign scene with Adebola Brooksland Sunday.
One last take. Hello there. Australia is set to evacuate more than 200 of its citizens on board a coronavirus-stricken cruise ship being held under quarantine in the Japanese port of Yokohama. Reports said the passengers will depart on Wednesday and will be taken to Australia's tropical north, where they will be required to be quarantined for another 14 days. The Diamond Princess cruise ship has been quarantined since arriving in Yokohama on February 3rd, after a man who disembarked in Hong Kong was diagnosed with the virus. More than 350 passengers on board the ship have tested positive for coronavirus, including 24 Australians. Meanwhile, 2 planes carrying hundreds of U.S. citizens from the cruise ship in Japan have arrived in the U.S. One of the planes landed at a U.S. Air Force base in California and the other in Texas. Passengers will be isolated at military facilities for 14 days. There were about 400 Americans on board the Diamond Princess. In another development, at least 22 people have been killed in an attack on a village in northwest Cameroon, and over half of those killed in Ntumbu were children. And local media reports that several victims were burned alive. Cameroon's government, which has been fighting separatists in the region for 3 years, denied involvement in the attack. I'm Adebola Brooksland Sunday. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Adebola. And talking sports, Ikpugba Oka Local Government Council is winner of the 3rd Edo State Sports Festival. The games climax this Saturday in Benin. Elizabeth Omoko reports.